So this video is dedicated to Merlin and our collaboration together and as my teacher. It's also for the universe's wisdom bringing me to Tara and all the customers and friends who have passed through the gallery's doors over the years. May this offering bring you pleasure and to offer the thought that anything is possible, change can be in the blink of an eye. Greetings everybody, my name is Courtney Davis and welcome to Spirit of Celtia. In 1974 I first met Merlin. Well, to be correct, there were actually 8 Merlins and they were standing at the end of my hospital bed. They had just spent an hour or so taking me through an energetic operation that included a significant amount of out-of-body experiences as they performed their task. Today I'll be sharing some of my wonderful Merlin experiences with you over the past 55 years. I was so affected by the Merlin operation in the hospital, and I will go into this in more detail on another video, that I decided to dedicate my life to giving back something, anything, in return for the gift I received, though I didn't actually know what the gift was, or what I was to do with it. So for the next few years, I searched for my purpose in life, and this took me through various religions and spiritual groups, but none satisfied the yearning I felt. Often in my life I have waited for some door of change to open for me. There were times when I forcibly shook the door out of sheer frustration, but it wouldn't budge. Sometimes though, the door opens and you're through to the other side without actually realising it. My father died and I needed to look after my mother for the first few months. It was in this period I started to draw, firstly in pencil, and the result was often very dark and foreboding. After a time though, the designs gradually began to lighten and I began creating simple Celtic surrounds to the art. Over the next few years the Celtic themes overtook my older painful style. The Celtic designs I was creating though took on an age to complete and were still pretty basic and pen and ink patterns with no real depth. I was invited to exhibit my art at the Festival of Mind and Body in London. And one of my first customers to arrive at the display asked if he could commission me to paint a portrait of Merlin for a friend. The only guidance given to me was to look at the plough in the sky and ask Merlin for his guidance. I remember staying the night at a newly refurbished hotel in Dorset many years ago. I put a nightlight into a very thick glass ashtray and placed it on the dressing table. I awoke in the early hours to a thunderbolt shooting through the room and hitting the ashtray. The ashtray exploded into 1,000 pieces and it left a deep hole burnt into the newly refurbished dressing table. The next morning I spoke to the manager about the burn. He shrugged his shoulders and said it was okay. I think he thought it was some slight cigarette burn. He was in for a very big surprise. So I went out one night to look up at the night sky and to ask Merlin for his guidance on the commission. And as I spoke the words, so a shooting star went straight through the plough. It felt really magical, but I had no idea of its consequences. As I said earlier, the art I was creating at the time was very time consuming and never seemed to really express the creative urge that was inside. It was clever pattern work, but no more than that. When I returned to the drawing board after my episode outside, I was surprised to see very small blue lights touching the work surface. And although they were showing themselves for a fraction of a second, once or twice I glimpsed within the blue light and they seemed to be like small doorways to infinity. Now as I began to draw, the lights seemed to move with my pen strokes. And as I stood back to view the artwork's progress, I felt hands take my hands, and together we stood there, and it felt timeless. As the days progressed, so the lights became less frequent, but I began to feel hands resting on my shoulders, and this seemed to take over the guidance. No word was ever spoken, though the feeling was so reassuring that it felt very comfortable to be working with the presence. It soon became clear that I should be taking guidance from the lights and the impressions I felt, and every time I tried to add something of my own, the lights would stop, and the guidance would later develop into short pokes into my back if I tried to move away from the energy's direction. And so began my apprenticeship, and the energy gradually began overshadowing me in a greater and greater intensity, and would stay until I put my pen down. Merlin had well and truly stepped into my life. As our connection deepened over the years, so did the art. This was never a sublime collaboration that people imagined. It was full of drama that I went through. My physical pain and sadness were needed to fuel the power of the work. There were many days when I would need to create a painting a day, and for years I resented the constant procession of traumatic ordeals that befell me. I could never understand why the universe, the beloved, constantly needed to torment me when all I wanted to do was create my art. Oddly, in my later years, I will openly invoke the turmoil as the integral factor that became the embedded potency that was in the art. So many times I hear people wishing for some great spiritual change as long as it doesn't upset their comfortable existence. I have found that to truly embrace the beloved, there can be no conditions. To be at one, you need to stand naked and accept the pathway for whatever arises. It becomes your teacher. I never try to invoke Merlin. He comes forward when there is a need. There were two indications, though, of his closeness when we were not working. One was locking my fingers into a certain type of mudra that I could shake free, but as soon as I got distracted, the fingers would reform again. Another indication was a moving spiral that energetically formed in both my palms. They were quite warm to the touch, and sometimes they were strong enough that the movement could actually be felt by others. My studio has been my bedroom at various times in my life, and it obviously leads to long hours at the drawing board. This way it felt like the energy was contained in the room, so I was living and breathing the energy all the time. So when I step up to the drawing board to begin, I start to feel a breeze and some tingling down the right side of my face. This feeling gradually gets stronger and starts to slip into my head, and Courtney is gradually moved to one side. And this is how we work. Sometimes the feeling was more intense than any other times. For a few years I had a TV beside the board and would play movies as the work was going on. It always felt like it was my hand painting a picture, but the driving force was always the energy. And it's that governs how the work developed, and I've learned not to try and interfere with the vibrational outcome. Before Merlin came forward, I would often fill the designs with meaningful symbols that actually gave the art a confused and very empty feeling. In my quest to create spiritual art, I was just trying too hard. This was to change in 2012, but that's another story. There were many times when I shook my fist in the air and would vent my anger and frustration with the energy. Having lost my business 4 times to business partnerships, I see myself as the perpetual phoenix rising from a whole heap of ashes. Yet when I look at all the art achieved, the joy it gives to so many people, I feel a great deal of satisfaction and truly blessed that his energy came into my life. So bless you for all your kindness. It hasn't been possible for me to retell all my encounters within this video. A video I posted called A Merlin Encounter shares something of the overshadowing that took place as I was working over the years. And other videos I'm working on will reveal the background to the art's development and something of the wisdom that they've revealed as I draw down the spirit and connect it to the art. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share, and press the subscribe button if you would like to see more. And as always, may your lights shine.